Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome to a big bit of news coming out of Watford today, and that is João Pedro has left the football club to join Brighton in a deal up to £35 million. We wanted to get the instant reaction of the guys, Charlie, Zazera, Sam Yuko and myself. And we're just going to talk through our kind of initial reactions, our thoughts, what this means for Watford. And I guess it is the start and the first bit of transfer news ahead of a really interesting summer ahead for Watford. But Sam, I'll throw it over to you first, mate. We've had about an hour to process the news. I mean, I say an hour. We all knew it was happening when Fabrizio Romano tweeted about 20 times that he was leaving. So what is your initial thoughts, mate, and your initial feelings about the news?
Yeah, for someone who claims to be a Watford fan, I really thought Fabrizio was rubbing it in as much as he could. Every other tweet was about João Pedro. Yeah, look, I think it's something that we all expected. We all knew it was going to happen. And obviously, I'm sad that João Pedro's leaving Watford, but at the same time, I'm delighted for him. I think it's the perfect step for him in his career, rather than making that step up to a team in the top six already where he might not get as many minutes. I think he's going to play a key role for Brighton in the coming season. De Zerbi's a great manager as well, who's got a reputation for developing players. You look at McAllister, Caicedo this season, and I've got no doubt that he'll follow in those footsteps as well. So delighted for João. And as they say, don't be sad it's over, be happy it happened, because his time at Watford was great and one of the best players I've seen play for us.
Charlie, it's been a difficult season, and I think it's wrapped up with this news, to be completely honest. Kind of, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because you're happy for João. I think you're happy for the club with the fee we've got. But still, the fact of what he's given us over the last 3 years and the talent we've seen from him, is it mixed emotions for you as well?
100%. I mean, the fact that he's going to Brighton, I'm such a big De Zerbi and Brighton fanboy. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the game yesterday, but the fact that I just think he's an outstanding coach, and what he's doing with their team, they've got 21-year-old, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds playing, and they're bopping United off the park. And I'm just thinking, when João's in that team and they're just playing it and they're creating all the space for him, he's going to do some serious damage. And I'm just so excited to see what he can do. And I'm just convinced he's going to play for Brazil at a World Cup. I think we've said that before, but I think he will get a move to a super club in the coming years, whether that be a top 6 English club or one of the Spanish giants, Juventus, something like that. So, yeah, definitely sad, but I think it's been a privilege to watch him recently playing yellow. But yeah, it's a bit mixed emotions. But one thing, what do you guys think in terms of, because I feel a bit the same with Sarr, do you think we've got the best out of him from the time that we've had? I mean, he has been, the player of the season vote happened, or got announced yesterday. Do you think we got the most out of him from what we did? How do you think he's been since he's been with us?
Go on, Sam.
Yeah, again, it's a really difficult question because it's been such an uncertain and insecure background at the football club while João Pedro's been here. And I think it's massive credit to him that he's really held his own and improved in such a difficult period for the football club, where I don't think the same can be said for Sarr. I think probably Sarr's gone backwards or hasn't kicked on as much as he should have done. I mean, I think the real shame is if Watford did have a more secure background and a manager for more than 5 minutes, I think we would have seen an even better side to João than we saw already. But as I say, it's credit to him that we even got this much out of him. And I think that's down to his character.
Yeah, who's the last player that's developed since João? I think that just proves how great of a player he is, because he's been able to develop in the environment. And you compare that to Brighton, which is, I mean, I've been to their training centre. It's a state of the art. It's unbelievable. So, yeah, can you remember, Jacob, the last player who you think we've developed under the Pozzos?
So I can't remember a player of his age bracket developing. I mean, I can remember in terms of, like, you could argue Capu, for example, came in, left a player and went on to win Europa League. So there's been players that have developed, but I don't think there's been a player which has come in as quite a raw, skinny, kind of like at the start of his development and gone on to become the captain. I can't really remember the last time that happened, if I'm honest. I think yeah, you guys are absolutely right. I was going to echo what Sam said about, in terms of the fact that the environment he's been put in, you know, we've all mentioned what's been happening at Watford, but I think it's something like 8 managers he's been through since he's been at the club. I think every time you watched him, you felt like he did his best. There was so much raw talent that he showed. I don't think he's the finished article by any stretch. I think the actual stats was 24 goals in 80 starts for Watford. So a pretty good return for a guy who's not an out-and-out striker. And when you actually think about the last time he got promoted, he was kind of leading the line for us as a 19-year-old. And to do that in his first full season in England was really impressive. I just, as you say, Charlie, I just think it's such a great fit for Brighton, for João. For me, I think this season, the one criticism I would have of him is that he's kept onto the ball too long. But I think that's actually in the respect of what he's been surrounded by and the fact that he's had to do a lot of it himself. He's had to do a lot of himself in this team. So I think if you put him in an environment where he can, like you've got to think about the players he's going to be training with, the manager he's working under, the environment he's going into. I generally don't think, in terms of the next stage, you always think with João, I felt that Watford was the start. You wanted a club just before, as you say, Charlie, goes on for like to another level. And I think Brighton couldn't be a better fit for him, really. What is it about him, Charlie, that you think is so good, and why Watford have managed to get such a good fee for him? Because I think, fair play to the club. They've got this deal done early. That João's happy to go. We've protected the asset of £35 million. So why do you think he is worth that? And why do you think he will go on to have such a great career?
Yeah, just on the fee, I was initially a bit like, I want a bit more. Like when you see some of the fees like Morgan Gibbs-White and players like that, I think we could have gotten more. But I think if you look at the club, the fact that we've got the deal done this early, we need it. We've talked with Andrew in a previous video about the debts that we're in, and this fee is going to go a long way. It's up to 35 mil, isn't it? Which is a lot better, which is better than 30. So that's kind of swayed it. But, and I think, can we maintain a good relationship with Brighton? They're a club that you want to do it. So I think it is a good bit of business. And I think Brighton, I tweeted earlier today, I think Brighton will double their money when they sell him on. So a good deal for everyone, really. In terms of why he's so special, I just think he's naturally gifted. The way he takes the ball, the way he moves it, the way he can beat a man. And the fact that he's developed so much physically in that summer of, was it 2021, when he turned up just looking like a man. And now he's just physical and you can't get the ball off him. And I just think he's a fantastic talent, really probably one of the most naturally gifted players I've ever seen. I know a lot of Brighton fans are kind of like, oh, we've got a striker finally. I don't think he's a 9 and out striker. I don't think that's his best position. I think his finishing can do with some improving when he gets into the final third. But I think linking up to play, receiving it, the way that they're going to be playing, he's going to fit like a glove. So, yeah, and just the way that Luton game, I know we'll probably talk about it, but the way he was beating people with ease, strolling past them, it was like he's walking his dog. It was a joy to behold. So I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, for sure. Look, just a few comments before I throw over questions to Sam. So Fred in the comment section. João Pedro has the potential to go right to the very top. He's done a Harry Redknapp. Brighton is a great move for him, and I couldn't be happier. It's been a pleasure watching him playing a Watford shirt. Ian says, think João will be the first in an exodus from WD18. Hopefully not for the channel, mate. But after this season, I'm not too bothered who stays and who departs. Big pre-season coming up, and with the right investment, 2023-24 could be great. Caroline, sad to see Pedro leave, but hopefully it works out as a brilliant move for him. Nothing but praise for his commitment to Watford since he came in. And I think, Sam, just overall, the positive feedback and the positive messages towards João probably sums up how we as fans view him, right? I mean, I haven't really seen anyone go, number one, he shouldn't have left. Number two, I think people, as Charlie mentioned, are happy with the fee in terms of the situation we're currently in. But also the fact that I think it's probably the right time, though. I think it would have probably been, I think we've seen with Sarr, as you mentioned, what can happen when a player can stay one season too many.
Yeah, exactly. And on what Charlie said before in terms of thinking you want a bit more with the fee, I get that. But I don't think as well Watford are in the strongest bargaining position in terms of the fact that João probably wanted to leave. Watford in the Championship have debts to settle and to try and, get him out the door as quickly as possible to avoid uncertainty in pre-season. I think it was pretty much going to be Watford having to accept one of the first bids that came in. So I don't think our position was that strong in that regard, which is why I don't think we got any more. But Watford fans will always remember him fondly, I think, and particularly over the next few years when we see how his career progresses. And you look, as I mentioned before, the trajectory of certain players when they're at Brighton and when they leave Brighton. I think the example I look at now is Leandro Trossard, who was brilliant at Brighton, gone to Arsenal, and has been really good there as well. So I think Pedro will probably be looking for a similar career path in that regard. And I just think Watford fans are happy for him for it. And as I say, did brilliantly with us, and wish him all the best for the future.
Yeah, just before we move on, just wanted to touch on what Ben Manga said about the deal. So Ben's been pretty involved with the communication in the official statements that will be coming out from the football club. He went on to say it can be a surprise to no one that João Pedro leaves us now for the Premier League. Supporters will understand this agreement is right for all involved. This early action allows us to plan an effective transfer window as we seek to build a competitive team for next season. And with the transfer happening so soon, it allows us to start the important work for the summer transfer window. He also went on to say, to announce this news now will give our supporters a chance to reflect on João Pedro's time here since January 2020, so everyone can be ready to say goodbye and good luck. So, Charlie, you mentioned the Luton game there as some of his best moments, but is there any others where you think, God, I'm going to really remember that Pedro performance, that Pedro goal, that Pedro moment?
Yeah, just on the communications, I think it's really refreshing, and I think we've seen a couple of that now with the big decisions and Ben Manga's name's all over it. I think that's showing the power and the authority that he's having, and it's only a good thing. That's something that we've wanted. So I think the Ben Manga era is kind of starting now. So I think we're going to have a busy couple of weeks with new managers and players and stuff like that. So that's good to hear. In terms of highlight, I loved he scored his debut goal against Luton when we went back up. It was his birthday as well, wasn't it? That was great. I actually looked back. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this. The game that we got relegated against Arsenal, how we didn't win that game, by the way. Our XG must have been through the roof. We had so many big chances, but he came on and he was just running at people, and he would have been 18 at that time.
Yeah.
He was running at people, and I was thinking, Jesus, this guy's ballsy. Why have we not been playing him?
Duxbury said that, didn't he? He said that afterwards. He was like, I was watching the game thinking, João Pedro's come on, and why has he not played more this season? And I think that game, you're right.
Who said that?
Scott Duxbury said that because he was mentioning about how they bought players like Danny Welbeck, who has now done really well at Brighton. So maybe there's a. I don't think he was the best example, but I think his point was we had these young players like Pedro who'd come in for that game, looked amazing, and we had rarely played them that season. So I think that was the game where everyone started to take note and go, "Wow, this guy is pretty good."
The other memories, and there's a TikTok on the WD18 TikTok, so make sure you check it out. You might
want to cry, go and give that a watch.
But he scored a really good goal. Blackburn away, we had it was like 3-2 during lockdown.
Yeah,
he scored a really good lockdown. And lastly, the Middlesbrough game this season, Chris Wilder's Middlesbrough at the time, and there's what's it called? There's a 2-minute clip of all of his best bits compilation. I've had a gin compilation video, and, 2 minutes long of him just absolutely controlling the game and bossing it. So I really recommend anyone to check that out. But he's a stunning player, and I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, big time. Sam, we were just debating off air before we came on. We'd love to hear what you think in the comment section. Who will go on to have a better career, João Pedro or Richarlison? So very similar players in the sense that, not in terms of style, but in terms of they came to Watford as a young player for Fluminense. Richarlison's obviously gone on to play, is at Spurs at the moment, but had quite a successful time at Everton, leads the line for Brazil. Pedro's at the start, really, of that kind of trajectory. But who's going to go on, Sam? And what do we define as, if you were going to compare the two players, what would be success in your eyes?
Yeah, for answering that though as well, just my favourite João Pedro memory was against Man United when we won 4-1 at Vicarage Road last season. The highlight in a really bad season, but I think went a bit under the radar how a few weeks beforehand, Pedro's stepfather passed away. And I think he wasn't involved in a couple of squads. And on his first game back, he scored against Man United. And I think his celebration was really emotional as well. So I'll always remember that fondly. And I think it's a sign again of his character. But in terms of the João Pedro and Richarlison debate, I think Pedro will go on to be better. I think he is better at this age than Richarlison was. I think his underlying numbers perhaps aren't as good, but I think I've seen enough from him to suggest that he'll go on to have a brilliant career for Brazil. He'll go on to have a brilliant career in the Premier League as well. And I think Brighton is probably going to be a better place for him to develop than Richarlison at Everton. While he did do well at Everton, I think Pedro will be able to do it even better at Brighton, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go Pedro. I think Pedro will go on to have a better career.
Charlie?
100% João. I mean, I think he's technically a lot better in my eyes, isn't he? Personally, in terms of kind of receiving the ball and stuff like that. Richarlison's a bit of he's a proper, not a poacher, but physical. He gets in the right areas. How much did he go for? 60 million? Did Tottenham get him for?
Tottenham got him for around 50, 60, yeah.
Well, it's unbelievable that he scored one Premier League goal this season and he's leading the line for Brazil. So
yeah.
He
was decent at the World Cup, to be fair.
Yeah, he was okay in the World Cup, but I think I'm hoping that João's going to be a lot better. And like Sam made a really good point that Richarlison did well at Everton, and I think that was quite a good fit in terms of the way they played, quite physical balls in the box. Whereas João with De Zerbi ball could be something electric, and I can't wait to watch it.
It's a football dream, that combination.
I think as well. I think João Pedro's leaving on better terms with the Watford fans than Richarlison did. Obviously, Richarlison, when Marco Silva left, he wasn't really involved in the second half of the season. From what I remember, there was a tweet he put out or something during the January transfer window as well when he was unhappy that Silva had been sacked, and we didn't really see him for the rest of the season. So I think that's an element of it as well, why I'm hoping that João goes on to have a better career as well.
Yeah, he did definitely leave on better terms. He said on an Instagram post that he wanted to thank Watford for all the love and care they have always shown me since I arrived. Today I leave my head held high, knowing that I always gave my best for the club. And thanks to all the fans for the love you've always shown me. Just know that I appreciate you all. But now it's time to look for the new challenge. So in terms of where he ranks as the best players that you've seen in your time supporting Watford, Charlie, from my perspective, definitely up there. The fact that he's shown it in maybe not as much as he has this season in the Premier League, but the fact that he has shown the ability in the Premier, the Championship, probably edges it over some players who have maybe just shown it in the Championship. But where does he rank in the sort of Zazera tier list of what?
It depends what we're saying. If we talk about like naturally gifted, I think he is right up there. I can't even think of anyone that I've seen. People of an older vintage might say John Barnes would be better, but I think he's naturally more gifted than a Gerard Deulofeu, perhaps. That's talent. When it comes to actually the best, like when you look at your Troy Deeneys and stuff, the best for Watford, Capoue probably did it for a longer period in the Premier League. Gerard Deulofeu, Capoue, Deeney. He's probably just below those three for me. Can you think of anyone else that I've missed? I mean, Pereira's again pretty naturally gifted.
I think Pereira's technical ability. Yeah, I think he's up there.
He's João's fourth for me on that list in terms of technically best players I've seen at the club. I think Capoue, Deulofeu, and Pereira all slightly edge it over him for me. I
think Deulofeu definitely does for me, just because I think Deulofeu maybe has more individual match-winning moments than Pedro. I think Pedro technically is he's up there. But I think with Deulofeu, I know it's just not just the Wolves game, but that season in general, you felt that he could always get a goal from somewhere. Whereas I'm not saying Pedro didn't, but I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like Deulofeu... Deulofeu did it end the Premier League, to be fair. We have to say, like, there is obviously a difference there, just the obvious one. But Charlotte said, best since Richarlison, not a patch on John Barnes, though.
So is he gonna have a better career than Gerard Deulofeu?
That's a good one. The potential. We don't know at the Mo, obviously, but I think his trajectory is going that way, isn't it? I think if he has a really good spell at Brighton, you're thinking the big clubs are going to be sniffing around, particularly the Champions League clubs. It's just whether I think the only thing I'd say about Pedro is I feel like he needs to fit into a system. So, for example, with Brighton, I feel like that role with McAllister pretty much going to be moving on. It's a great fit. It's such a good fit. But then when you think about, will another club have that sort of role available for him just to go into? That's the only thing I'd say, because I think one thing I've noticed when he was at Watford is the fact that we moved him around quite a few times to find his best position. So I just worry that if he goes to another club, I know this is looking way down the line, but if he went to another club, would they try and shoehorn him into a left wing, for example? Or do you see what I mean? Because I think he's that good that you can just kind of shape him into any position over the front line, if that makes sense. Someone said Abdi's up there.
Yeah, that's a good shout. And what do you guys think we're going to... Harder Helgeson. What do you guys think we're going to do with the 35 million then?
pay off the debts.
All of it in one go.
Well,
I
Sam,
know-
how much do we? How much? I mean, you make a great point there in the sense that we do have to section some of that away financially. But how? I mean, Ben Manga's got a track record of working with a limited budget. How much would you put of that into the budget then?
I don't think we're going to see a lot of money spent by Watford this summer, to be honest with you.
How much?
I think I'd be surprised if we spend more than 15 million in the summer transfer window. Obviously, that will be spread out, but I think we're going to see a huge influx of players in the summer, probably around 12 to 13 players, I reckon we'll see come in. And I reckon we'll be looking at the free agent market, the loan market as well. I just hope that the likes of the way Arouge's loan has gone, Courtney Hawes' loan has gone, albeit he was injured. I hope that doesn't hinder any potential loan moves that we get next season. But in terms of the João replacement, I think the natural successor is supposedly going to be Yasser Asprilla. Jacob, how do you feel about? Do you think Asprilla is ready to take on that responsibility?
Well, I think, Charlie, you made a great point on your Twitter that the fact that Asprilla's made so many games at 18, played so many games at 18 years old, which is a lot more than João did at this stage. But to the same extent, I feel that could be to his detriment, the fact that we've kind of chucked him in there when we haven't really given them the time to develop. But it could work both ways. It just depends if he physically develops, because at the moment, if we're being honest, he's not cut out for English football in terms of the roughness and the robustness of the Championship. I think technically he's Premier League quality. I genuinely believe that his touch, his weight of passes. I mean, the weight of pass at Norwich away, I think sums his passing ability up, to be fair, for that one down the line for Bio's goal. So I think it probably has to be Sam. I don't think you're going to get a better talent than Asprilla in the Championship who can come in straight away, if I'm honest. So it's a little bit of a gamble, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah.
You made the comparison. I feel like we are looking at Asprilla like we want him to be the next Pedro, but I think we might have to be careful that we kind of treat him as an own player and not compare him too much.
He's going to need a Pedro-esque sort of summer where he puts on like 7
I
kilos.
was going to say, whatever that program was in the gym, get down, do exactly the same, because João just turned up. I think it was Premier League season. It was like, Jesus, who this bloke? So yeah, if Yasser can get where he is physically, I think that's a pretty scary prospect, because, like I said, I think that experience, João didn't have that. I remember João had you saw him come on against Tranmere and stuff. He looked so skinny. So the fact that he's already had those games, I think is going to be really beneficial. I know he's saying it can work both ways, but we have shown in one aspect that we can develop a talent of that age physically as well. And look, the club have got a lot of things wrong and a lot of criticism, but I think that's one thing that we need to say fair enough with this João Pedro deal. It's been a prime Pozzo signing, what the model should be. Like, how much was he? 8 million maybe from.
Yeah, I think around that.
We need to praise him, because that's what we need to do. That's what we need to get back to. And it's going to be fascinating to see what Ben Manga does in the summer. He's going to be a busy lad.
Yeah, he is. I think, he said it in that statement that they want to get on with the business early. Sam, in terms of Asprilla there, Charlotte says there's a danger we put too much pressure on Asprilla too early. How would you manage him? How would you play it? Would he be that go-to next season of kind of not building the team around him, but being that kind of linchpin between like midfield and attack?
Yeah, I think that whenever you see players come in at around this age and hoping that they go on to have a successful career with Watford where we can sell them on, it's about taking risks at an early stage and throwing them in there. And if they can't hold their own, then maybe it's too soon and you can always take them out of the team. But I've seen enough already from Asprilla this season to think that I think if he does bulk up in the summer, I think he'll be completely fine and hold his own in the Watford side next season. I think his best position is just behind the striker as well. And I think we'll really benefit next season from having a striker who can run in behind, where we can really utilise Asprilla's passing. And as you say, his weight of pass as well, which is brilliant. So I think throw him in there at the start of next season. If it's not working out, we can always take him out and slow down the process.
It might be like this might be another kind of transition season where, do you know what I mean? He might not bulk up straight away. It might be another season until we see, because Asprilla is still 18, 19, isn't he? He's gone away for Colombia. So we might have to be a bit patient. But I generally believe what he's shown already is pretty remarkable, again, in a bad team. So if we've got a good fitting system, it'd be nice to see him as like a little gem alongside some really good talent and some workmen and someone that he's not going to be the main man just yet, but he could be in years to come.
Yeah, agreed. I think it helps that he, as you say, Charlie, he's had the time to play some games, probably more than he probably expected, but actually now next season he's got the opportunity to step up. And I think it depends who the next manager is going to be, which I know we will do some videos as soon as there's any sort of talk about it, but we will do a tier list of maybe managers that we'd like to see come to Watford and realistic ones, because we did that with Rob Edwards and he did actually end up joining, which is pretty mad. I remember Charlie really whipping out the propaganda for Rob.
It's so funny. We said the other day, we were speaking about it on our group chat, and I think we put a tweet out as well, that Charlie found that I think in the good but unlikely category, we had Slaven Bilic and Chris Wilder, who both of them obviously ended up managing us this season.
Well, let me just get that image up so people can remember. I mean, that was honestly unbelievable. If I show this quickly.
I actually think when I'm looking at the list to see how each manager has done, it's actually not been too bad a prediction. Like John Eustace has done okay. I think Liam Manning was up there. He got sacked. MK Dons is coming at Oxford. So yeah, we'll get out the tier list again. What have we got here?
So that was the tweet. So it was Liam Manning, Gerard Struber, Rob Edwards, Nar Knutson, I believe, Bodie Glimt.
Carlos Corberan, Kieran McKenna have done really well.
Some interesting names like Neil Critchley at the top, who's obviously
Russ Martin's done well at Swansea. Well,
but I just want to stop it right there. Philip Jawalza. I mean, that is unbelievable. So that was a year ago. No chance Troy Deeney. That one really did make me laugh. But do you know what? Would you take Javi back, Sam?
No, I don't think so. Not necessarily because I don't think he'd do a good job. I mean, I feel really sorry for him for what's happened for him at Leeds, but I wouldn't want. I remember Kike really fondly for that first season he had with us, and I think his legacy really got tarnished by that second round with us. And I've always got a great amount of respect and love for Javi for what he did for us that season, and I don't really want it to be tarnished by him coming back and failing. I'll tell you what, I do have a feeling, don't ask me why, I could just see Steven Gerrard. I could see it.
Save it for the other video, Sam.
Yeah, of course, maybe. I mean, we will do a video. We'll do a video on all the options, and we'll do a tier list similar to that before. I mean, ideally, though, just to wrap up, Charlie, getting a manager in early doors is, I mean, I think that is so crucial, especially with how quick the season starts at the Championship. Like, what if you're I'm putting you in Ben Manga's shoes here. What's the cut-off, the latest date we should be getting a manager in, if that makes sense? Because it is really important that we give him the full pre-season.
Yeah, I think 100% by the end of May. I do think it's important to get the right manager in. So there's no point just appointing someone next week just to get things early. Like, I think absolute latest would be end of May, but I think that there's probably been conversations had. Andrew kind of suggested that, although we haven't had meetings, blah, 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 there's definitely been conversations. So I think the season's going to end on Monday. And then I think they'll announce Chris Wilder's not carrying on, and then the odds will be up, and then, here we go again.
Yes, give it to Zara. Or Troy Deeney. But no, we'll do a video on it. We've got a few videos coming just to wrap up. We've got the manager video. Obviously, any bits of news regarding Watford we'll cover here on the channel. Keep, sell, or loan will be back. Don't you worry about that. That'll be an absolute. I'll probably have to stock up on the old pens because there'll be so many to get through.
Whole wall will be covered pretty much.
You know that little meme from Only Sunny when he's stressed out.
So yeah, I'll be doing that. I've actually got the whiteboard here, so I'll get that out. And then any videos you'd like to see from us, guys, just let us know in the comment section. Thanks to Charlie, Sam. The João Pedro era is officially over, but he gave some great memories. I hope you hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you hope you're coping with João leaving. But great deal for Watford, great move for João, and we'll see how he gets on next season. Nice one. Take care, guys. See you later. Up the Hornets.